Hey, what's going on, RC drivers? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have another racing vehicle to show you guys. We have a lot of bashers here on the channel, a lot of crawlers as well, and I want to show you guys some more stuff, especially in the racing category. And this is one I got in. This is the Tekno EB410.2. It's a really exciting 1/10 scale off-road electric four-wheel drive buggy loaded with performance features. So let's head over to the Workbench and check out what this thing has to offer. Like pretty much every RC racing kit out there, the Tekno EB410.2 is a full build-up kit. So there's the box that comes in right there, and you're going to have to supply the electronics, wheels, tires, paint, and of course some tools to assemble it. Now this is one aggressive looking car. I love the body style on this. I actually sent this out to my buddy Larry at Custom RC Graphics for the paint work, and he did a variation on my paint scheme. He used some pink and red, I guess, in the back here, which I usually use yellow, but I love the style that he did on this, and just the way this body flows makes it look pretty awesome. But downforce from the cab forward style of body. It does come with the spoiler as well, and while I'm talking about that, they do have a new and revised wing mount on here. And so again, this is the 0.2, so there was a original version. It needed a couple of tweaks, and of course Tekno is always revising their stuff to be better, and so that's what you're going to see on this vehicle. That's what I'm going to point out mostly is the revisions that they did to this, and one of those is the wing mount. It's a bit taller. There's actually a spacer there that you could remove, but that's a change that they made that it gives you adjustability to the car, and I definitely like how much adjustability is on this car. I don't think it's too overboard, but definitely a lot in case you do need to tune it. And this is pretty much a dirt car out of the box. I am going to go and use it for turf racing. It's still set up as a dirt car, and I'm going to use some of the Tekno setup sheets from the original EB410 to tweak it once I do get to the track. But I just have turf tires on here from Proline Prism tires. So that's the way it's set up right now. So when you're looking at things, don't go buy any setup stuff you see on my car. Again, it's going to get changed as I go. I kind of want to get a feel for it before I start changing stuff, and that's one thing you should do if you are going racing. Go out, try your car, and then tune one or two things at a time, mostly just one thing, so you get a feel for your changes and you know what to change and how changes affect the car. That's one racing tip that many fast drivers has passed on to me. All right, let me go ahead and pull the body off here, and let's go over some of those other features that they swapped out on the EB410.2. All right, so I've got the body off. It's just some Velcro that secures it. I actually went and cut the body posts off, but take a look at the design of this car. Really well engineered and a really tough looking car as well. There's one thing that I really like about this is just how overbuilt everything is on it. And if you're really rough on your racing equipment, I mean, this is one car I would really go ahead and recommend because just the way everything looks, it's just built to be solid in my opinion. All right, so let's start going over some of the features that they've changed on this, the stuff that stands out. And let's start off with the shocks. I always like starting off with the shocks. They're 13mm big bore shocks, aluminum body, of course, a nice composite cap on this with a bleeder screw in it. But what they did here is they went and revised the cartridge from what I read, and there's new piston in there as well, and I think they revised the lower shock perch as well. But what's really nice about this shock perch, even if they didn't revise it, is it's got this screw in here that secures it to the lower ball end so that thing doesn't pop off when you're racing. It always causes a handling problem. Another thing that they went and revised here is the camber plate. So the camber plate has been altered, new positions there for better suspension geometry, nice composite shock tower on top. And there's some aftermarket carbon fiber towers out there if you want to, but this thing is pretty solid. I don't know if I'm going to change it. Another thing that is new on this kit that wasn't on the previous version is it now comes with sway bars. So we've got it in the front and we have it in the rear as well. So that is a welcome change, especially since I'm going to be running this thing on turf. Now, one thing I really, again, want to point out is the bulk factor, like on the suspension arms. I mean, just take a look at that suspension arm. No through holes through there. So this is a really solid piece. And the rest of the suspension parts are pretty solid as well. Take a look at that caster block there. Even the steering knuckle, lots of plastic on there, really well designed, so you got maximum steering throw, and the suspension geometry should really just soak up all the bumps and jumps that you're going to throw at it. So beyond the front suspension here, I just want to go over and flip this thing and show you guys the bottom side. This is a revised chassis. It's a long wear chassis, 7075 aluminum. We've got the gray anodizing on here. And the original version, it would snap right here. And a bunch of people were having that problem. And Tekno's gone ahead and done some revisions. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. I don't think I've seen any reports of any issues with the new chassis on here, but that was a problem with the old one, and that is supposedly fixed. There are new hinge pins on here, 3.5 millimeter thick hinge pins. So there are new suspension pivot points. The pills that go inside the blocks here have been altered to go with that 3.5 pin. And from what I've read, they have new A, B, and C and D blocks in this as well. They are machined aluminum, so that's nice that, it's a nice strong pivot point for the suspension components. Let's see here. Now, they also went ahead and revised the steering cranks. It's a rear swing style steering crank, so the mounting point is up front, and it helps you push everything a bit forward in the chassis, get that weight forward. But pretty nice system, and it does seem to have plenty of throw, especially for turf racing, where you might actually go and dial down your steering. But as you can see, we've got the adjustable turnbuckles on here, hex hardware throughout. That's pretty much standard for racing kits. And another thing I want to go ahead and point out here is you can go ahead and use a standard height servo or a low profile servo. They do go ahead and give you two of the mounts in order for you to do that, and you just kind of have to adjust the height of your steering horn assembly here, and that actually took me a little while to figure that out, but once I got it down, it's set up and everything seems to be working fine. Check out all the bracing on here. So we've got this front brace that leads down to the center brace, over to the center bulkhead, and then we've got a double brace in the back. So definitely a lot of bracing in the chassis. And here's a good spot to point out the millwork that's in this chassis to lighten it up. I mean, just really nice finish to this overall, and really stands out for what you're paying for this kit. You're getting a lot of great features here. The battery mount assembly, we've got a simple strap with a thumb screw to release it. Center differential, maybe I should move over to the driveline at this point. So I'll go back up to the front. We've got CV universals in the front and in the rear. Of course, full ball bearings throughout. And then 3 differentials, front, center, and rear, which are oil filled. All metal gears on the inside. The cross pins are a plastic piece, but I don't foresee any problems there. All the gears are metal. So that's what's most important to me. And again, you could go ahead and change the oil viscosities in there to alter the diff action on these like you would any racing vehicle. So definitely a tunable machine. In the center, we have dog bones, all lightweight out drives throughout. So you've got a nice free rotating drive line, lightweight drive line, so you get better acceleration through here. Here is the center differential, and there is a new 81 tooth spur gear on here, new material which won't fail. And then I want to show you guys this motor plate. Really nice looking motor plate, machined aluminum, and it's got a sliding style of plate system. So you unscrew these 2 screws, swap your pinion out, and you slide it in and out in order to change out your gear mesh. And now we have this arm on here for a cooling fan. And let me move over to the back. You'll see this stubby dog bone in the back to transfer power to the rear of the vehicle. And again, CV style universals in the rear gear differential, just like in the front. And might as well talk about the suspension back here as well. Got longer versions of the shocks in the rear, composite shock tower, again, adjustable tie rods. We saw that sway bar before, and check out these suspension arms on here. Really bulky suspension arms, nice smooth bottom to it. And, that won't pick up any dirt. Nice links on the sway bars as well. Again, just really nice setup throughout. I mean, you pull this car out of the box and you're ready to go racing right out of the box. I don't think you need to swap any parts out really, other than, doing some tuning to get it dialed into your specific track. One thing I did forget to mention in the rear of the vehicle is the rear hubs on here. Those are pretty bulky as well, with revised roll center options. They have large ball bearings that support the 6 millimeter stub axle shafts on this car. So really stout stub axle shafts, so those won't bend or break while you're racing. And I think that's really about it. Now, as far as the electronics go, again, you have to go ahead and get those. So let me start off here with the steering servo. I just went with a low profile Spectrum 6240, and that's got a metal case on there. Should have plenty of torque for this four-wheel drive application. My battery pack, low profile SMC battery, the True Spec Extreme. Really nice batteries from SMC, and thank them for kicking us over a battery to try out. And over here on this side is my Tekno gear. I love my Tekno racing systems. This is a Gen 3 RS spec speed controller, and you go ahead, solder this all up. I've got it soldered up to a Gen 4 motor, and I'll be running in the stock class, so I've got a 13.5 turn, and then I'll be running this with a Spectrum radio system. I've got a ProTech RC cooling fan to keep my temps in check, and a really nice system overall. And again, it doesn't come with wheels and tires, so I've got my Proline wheels on here, Prism tires for turf, and again, I'll do my tuning once I get over to a track finally. And I think I've covered all the bases here. Again, check out the look of this vehicle. Really robust setup. I really like how everything looks on this. It's just really polished, really well designed and engineered. And I think it's going to be really fun to drive. There you have it, my overview of the Tekno EB410.2. Just a great looking buggy overall. Lots of performance features on here, and it went together really well. The instruction manual, really well laid out. So if you're new to building a racing kit, might want to check out Tekno kits. They've got some great manuals to them. All right, now is typically the time in the review where I show you this vehicle in action, but all the tracks are closed down right now because of the COVID situation. So I can't go out and test this thing, show you the action footage, or give you the performance report. That's going to have to come in a separate video. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. Throw the video a like while you're there, and hopefully we'll be back soon to wrap up our report on this buggy. We'll see you then.